Whoop told me something was wrong for 8 months before my blood work confirmed it. I ignored it, I blamed training load, I blamed my diet, I blamed stress, and I even thought that maybe this is what things were supposed to feel like when I was in my 40s. And then I ran a marathon.
Today was not my day, but it doesn't matter. I finished the marathon. No PR, but that's okay.
It felt horrible. One of the fixes for that horrible marathon was a $12 iron supplement. But here's the thing, while I was digging into the problems I was having, I started to find some other small little things. Stuff I've apparently been carrying around for years without really even thinking about it. So for the last year, I tracked everything. I tracked everything with Whoop, with my workouts. I tracked my blood with Function Health. I tracked my sleep. I tracked my diet, every calorie in and calorie out. I want to talk about what worked, what didn't work, and some of the things that I found that were completely unexpected. Okay, so I want to be clear why I did this, because it wasn't to be healthy. It was because I genuinely didn't know what was working. I had lost 110 pounds, I was running marathons. I just ran the Boston Marathon and started training for the Chicago Marathon, and I would go through stretches where everything felt terrible.
My God, that was a workout. Legs are cooked, 7 mile. God, it was hard.
On paper, I thought everything looked fine, but I would get random fatigue, brain fog, runs that felt really bad. And then just life in general, just working, just sitting at my desk, trying to focus, started to become hard. And then I realized I had all of this data, everything separately, but I wasn't looking at anything together. And then the thing is, 6 different data sources, year of overlap, all of this information, and I would have different devices telling me different things all on the same day, which is either really interesting or really confusing and annoying. So I'll go through each one, what it got right, what it got wrong, and pretty much how I feel about tracking and doing all of this. And would I actually pay for this, the Whoop, again? Because I have some feelings on that. So we're actually going to start with the Whoop, the thing that I check every single morning. So with the Whoop, I actually like it for some things. It's interesting to me, but there were times in the beginning it was tough. It would tell me that I wasn't recovered, but I would go out and I would have a great run. I would have a good workout.
Woo! 6.5 mile run, zone 1, zone 2, pretty much the entire time. So that felt pretty amazing, to be honest.
It would tell me that I was totally recovered, but then I would go out for a workout and feel horrible.
I don't know what it was. 7 miles and then some intervals. That was a tough one. It is.
I think if you use the Whoop as a red light, green light system, like recovered, go, not recovered, stay home, you're probably either going to get frustrated with it and stop using it, or you're just going to completely not pay attention to it. What Whoop is really good at is seeing trends. Am I slowly recovering better? Am I getting more fatigued over the course of a couple days? If I had 3 days where my HRV was tanked, I knew I was probably about to get sick. Those were things that started to kind of become impressive to me. The day-to-day, the macro, really narrowing in, it's not great. But when you really kind of open the scope, it is pretty impressive. Now, Whoop has a pretty cool feature where you could do a journal every day. And that was the thing that I thought was really interesting outside of the recovery or not recovery, but just seeing what might help my recovery go in the right direction. And anytime I talk to people who are interested in the Whoop, I say one of the biggest things that they should do is the journal. That's your behavior insights on the Whoop app. For me, some of the things that I didn't realize would make the biggest differences were things like, breath work, having a dramatic difference, sleep mask, daylight eating all of your food in the daylight hours. But then even tracking creatine 2 or 3 months straight of taking it every single day. So this has a year's worth of data, and it would show that creatine had a positive impact on my recovery scores. But then something like the hot tub, which I just kind of started doing because my gym got a hot tub, -3% on the recovery. That's kind of neat. And that's why I think the next thing that's probably the most important was my blood test, because that actually pointed to something that might have been kind of overlooked just on its own. But before we dive into the blood tests, let me tell you about today's sponsor. So if you've followed me over the years, you've seen my weight loss, you've seen the changes. I don't wear glasses anymore. I shaved my beard. I now enjoy smells. When I was at my heaviest, I didn't even have cologne. I started feeling better about myself, and at some point I picked up a cologne. This just kind of makes you feel ready, which is actually why I'm excited that Scentbird is sponsoring today's video. Instead of dropping 80, 100, 150 bucks on a full bottle of cologne, you get a 30-day supply of a fragrance for way less. Your first month is $9. After that, it's less than $18 a month. They sent me a few to try, so I figured I'd walk through them. First one, Gucci. Lemon, lavender, orange flower, cedar, and patchouli. Feels like something you're gonna wear out when you're meeting your in-laws. Next up is Room 1015 Purple Matra. It's lavender, freesia, iris, clary, sage, and incense. This one actually kind of reminds me of when Monica and I went to Mexico. This one here, 6 Feet Under. Bergamot, germanium, lavandine, oak moss, and amberwood. 6 Feet Under is kind of gonna be the all-around go-to. And last, Scent of the Woods. White thyme, Henico oil, albanium, moss, cashmeran. Super smooth, nice day-to-day. Again, this is the thing that I'm probably gonna be wearing out summer nights. Definitely one of my favorite scents. But here's the thing that I love about Scentbird. They have over 900 fragrances. They have big names like Prada and Versace, but also stuff that you've never even heard of. There's a quiz on their site that helps you figure out where to start based on what you're into. And the nice thing is, these are tiny. They fit right in your pocket. So gang, if you want to check this out, scan the QR code on screen or use the link in my description. Use my code STACHE and you'll get 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That brings it down to $9 plus free delivery and a free case. Scentbird, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for making me smell so incredibly good. Okay, so I did multiple rounds of blood work this year. I have thrombocytopenia, I think is the name of it. It just means low platelets. So I go every couple of months to a hematologist who takes my blood, checks it, makes sure everything's good, and then we kind of move on. So it's kind of neat. So I get a lot of blood work done. And I actually kind of love it because it's really interesting to find out all of this data. But the one thing that we saw, and this was actually through function, was my ferritin. December, my ferritin, your iron storage, was 37 nanograms per millimeter, just below the functional range. Nothing bad. So now in May, I have my new ferritin results and I am sitting at 153. Now this is where all of the context kind of matters because normally I would just get a standard iron panel. Everything looked completely normal on that. Serum iron, transferrin, iron saturation, all in range. A regular doctor would look at that and say, everything's perfectly fine. So because of multiple different markers and me going through the Whoop and actually just bringing up the fact that some days I feel super fatigued and the Whoop would say I was recovered, but I was not, that's what actually brought some extra eyes onto it, which I thought was pretty neat. And just that small bottle of supplements brought my ferritin, my iron storage levels up, which made the training for the London Marathon dramatically different.
16 miles, all done. 16 miles, that feels good.
It made the entire race different.
That was it. I still got a PR. Thank you so much. London's amazing. London's amazing. God, there it is.
It's crazy how just that one thing could make such a difference. Oh, such a difference. For a runner, low ferritin does a lot of things. It suppresses your VO2 max before you feel anemic. Your easy runs will feel harder than what they should. Your recovery does take longer. You end up hitting a ceiling on performance that training alone typically cannot break through. But the ferritin wasn't the most important thing that the blood work found out. My LDL cholesterol has been steadily rising. We still can't figure that one out because my diet has overall gotten healthier. There is some research that shows that some very lean athletes end up with a higher LDL. The other thing that Function Health has recently marked for me is my ANA. That's an autoimmune marker. That could have something to do with my chronic low platelets, and it's something that I'm currently working out with my doctor. Again, not a test that the doctor would typically order, but because of the two things happening, I'm now seeking some other help. Food tracking. It's something that, people have different opinions on. I have my feelings towards it too. I think it's good and bad, but I think it can really help. Let me explain. So one thing that I did for a long time and still do off and on is track everything that I eat. Everything. If it's a snack, if it's a drink, I track it. And I don't do it all of the time. I think doing it obsessively is where things can go really bad. Do I think doing it to learn how you eat and get a grasp of your food, I think it could be incredible. For me, I use it when I want to cut a little bit of fat, if I'm noticing a little bit of a pudge, or if I'm gaining weight. I can start tracking again to see exactly what I'm doing. The reason why I know about bulk or dense food eating is because of calorie tracking. Now, I also tracked all of my workouts. I tracked it through Apple Health with my Apple Watch and with Strava. I haven't gained a ton of data from that. I've been able to adjust my workouts based on the total volume. So it was nice to be able to just easily see that. I can see how many hours a week I was running. I could see how many hours a week I was in the gym. So more about time on feet versus distance. But then I was also able to see a slow progression in the distance I was able to travel in the same amount of time. It's also been nice to be able to track my PRs and then even track things like how many miles I have on a pair of shoes. That pair has about 350 miles, by the way. Tracking the workouts can really become stressful for a lot of people. I personally enjoy training against myself. I think a lot of people will go on Strava and they see how fast other runners are and they compare themselves a lot. And honestly, I just think with Strava, that is probably one of the worst parts. Comparison is the thief of joy. If you're using Strava to motivate your friends and give kudos to your friends and actually be motivated yourself. And I think all in all, I'm going to use their line. It's community-powered motivation. I will say for me, being on Strava and tracking my workouts has absolutely made me more active. The data that I got from tracking those workouts has helped a little bit in tuning and tweaking my training, but that's only going to work if you are very specifically training towards a goal. If you're just going out and running for the heck of it, running for fun, going to the gym for health and just general fitness and strength, then tracking that kind of stuff probably isn't going to do anything for you. So what does this all mean? I will say that a couple years of tracking lots of things and a year of tracking everything. First thing, the data only matters when you look at it together. Whoop will help with some things, function will help with some things, tracking your macros will help with some things. And they all will generally help. But when you put them all together, you can actually see a huge thing. But that takes a ton of work. I think second, the stuff that matters most is the stuff that moves incredibly slow. Nobody really talks about HRV trends over 12 months or even resting heart rate trends over 12 months. That stuff, that makes a big difference. I do think the trackers that reward daily check-ins are optimized more for engagement, like the Whoop, trying to keep you hooked more than they are optimized for health. But again, I know I've said that the journal entry is pretty nice. I do like that. And I think the third thing, and this one's kind of important for most people, I'm healthier than I've ever been in my entire life by every single external measure. I'm the fittest I've ever been. I'm the leanest I've ever been. I'm the most consistent I've ever been with working out, with eating healthy food. It has been an incredibly dramatic shift in my life. Tracking found real problems. Cholesterol markers were trending in the wrong direction. Autoimmune patterns that were sitting in the background probably for years that I didn't really feel that, or slowly starting to pop its head as I get older. But on the outside, I felt good. I've ran 3 marathons. I got fit. I got lean. It's not anything you would have really pointed out. I know I have the random commenters from time to time that are like, you look unhealthy. And I was like, well, I lost 100 and something pounds in my mid 40s. I have a lot of loose skin. Skin doesn't bounce back. You tend to not look like a spitting image of health after you lose that much weight at older in life. Sorry, I know I've aged. But tracking doesn't tell you if you're broken. It can tell you where the gaps are before they become something that you really can't ignore. So I think that's probably the good part. Was all of this worth it? I don't know. I mean, am I going to do all of this craziness for another year? I'm going to probably keep some of them going, but not as as strict as I've been. I do like Whoop to a point, but this is my last year with it. I already subscribed for the next year. I'm kind of mad at Whoop. I will say that I think they, as a company, they're not great because I think they lie to their customers. I bought the Whoop MG, and this is supposed to be the medical grade Whoop. The thing that I thought would have been exciting was the blood pressure tracking and ECG actually correlating with the rest of the data, and it doesn't do that. And I think that's just stupid. Why have this data if it's not going to put it all together? Use it for something. Right now, I feel like they're just taking our data to use to figure out what the heck to do with it. I don't know. So I actually downgraded my Whoop from the Whoop MG, the best one, to their basic plan because the expensive one is worthless. And from what I understand, the hardware is actually worse, but I don't know. That being said, would I recommend anybody getting the Whoop? I think if you want like a good sleep tracker and the journal, I think the journal stuff is really good. You can really find out some dialed in information about what works and what doesn't work for you. But you have to take it all with a grain of salt. You really do have to consider about not being obsessed with it, doing it from time to time, like, using it for a couple months in a row and then stopping and seeing what it does. But I think not getting obsessed over the data is a good thing. I think macro tracking is great if you're trying to change something specifically. If you want to figure out the foods you need to eat to gain muscle or to lose fat, macro tracking is great for that. I think tracking blood markers is something I wish our medical system just did. I cannot find a bad thing about it. Expense, the cost, being able to get a blood test that has all of those markers. A lot of them are just noise because for a lot of people, most of the stuff is going to come back fine. But finding that one thing, for me, finding the ferritin level, even though I've had iron panels a bunch, seeing the ferritin levels being so low, that changed a lot for me. Like that one thing was worth the entire test. Function is something that I'm going to continue to do. I've been sponsored by Function in the past and still am. I have a Function sponsor coming up in the future. I have paid for my own Function tests for quite a while now. I became a Function member myself before they were a sponsor. Now the DEXA scan, that's something that I just recently got, and I got that for a very specific video, a video that I'm doing about resistant starch and visceral fat. I'm doing a thing for 90 days to remove visceral fat. But really the only people that need to know this are athletes or people who are training for very specific bodybuilding things. It's not the everyday person's tool. It's not anything, it's just only if you're super interested. So let me know in the comments below. Are you tracking anything? Was any of this useful? I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think about macro tracking and tracking your food and tracking your workouts? That's really another one. A lot of people have some issues with their workouts being public, and I completely understand why. It feels sometimes debilitating because you look and wonder why you're not fast enough or why you are not lifting as much. And sometimes it gets to me, but I like to push past that. So gang, if this was useful and you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button. I can't wait. More videos coming out like this pretty soon.